From RC Engineering, and I wanted to do this quick video about tiny whoops and my experience with them up to this point, because a few things are going to change here. So this is part one, and then I'm going to change a few things, and then we'll have probably a final part two, and then maybe a part three if I continue messing with them. So I wanted to talk about where I came from. Where I started out with tiny whoop, which was my first FPV experience, and where I'm going with it here in the future. So here's my tiny whoop. Basically, I'm going to talk about some of the things it has. It has stock 4-blade Ishin 010 props or 4ABF 36 props. It has 19,000 kV motors on it from Craze Pony, and it has a 260 milliamp hour Craze Pony LIHV high voltage 4.35 max volt battery with the pH 2.0 high amperage connector on it, as you see there. For the camera, we have a 3.3 gram Craze Pony 40 channel all-in-one with the camera and VTX combo. Coming with the kit off of Amazon from Craze Pony was a clear canopy. And then underneath the clear canopy is the version 1 Ishin F3 Evo running SP Racing firmware. Newest version right now, updated to the newest version to whatever time you see this video, I can't remember the exact version. And it's running a DSM-2 receiver. So that's what I'm running right now, and so I'm going to talk about what I did to get to this point, what I would recommend up to this point. Well, basically what I did, and I'm going to talk about that, what I recommend. So first, what I started out with is I started out with mainly planes. So when I wanted to get into quadcopters, I bought this guy, which is the Furry F36, which you fly with a small little controller like this and a tiny little square battery. It's a small little battery. So it runs a 150/30C battery, and I'll have to have a review for this one. This one's actually not mine. I bought this one for my dad for Christmas, so he could fly this at work and stuff. So what you'll actually notice is that these look identical. Reason being is that these are identical. This is the same frame. This is a Furry F36 frame that I modified. I'm going to go over the steps that I did to modify it. So first, getting into quadcopters, the very first thing actually before this step I bought an Inductrix bind and fly. And the second day we had a flyaway where we were flying at night with the LEDs, and the wind, it was really windy and the wind took it, and basically I tried to turn it back with throttle high, and the LEDs blend together. I couldn't tell orientation, so we had it drop out of the sky and fly behind someone's backyard, so we never found it. So I ended up getting this guy, doing a lot of research and knowing that these motors are very powerful out of the box to where they could fly FPV if you wanted to. So the very first mod after I flew this guy for 2-3 weeks is I bought a camera for it. So I ended up buying this same Craze Pony all-in-one unit VTX camera combo. That weighs 3.3 grams, and it came with this canopy. The very first thing I did was I took this canopy and I just attached it right here on top. Took this canopy off, attached it right here on this canopy, and I flew it with this controller. And for my goggles, I ran my Ishin 800D. So these are Ishin 800Ds. You know, this was before the Ishin 100D came out. I really do recommend these. These are really nice. And you see, this is the unbranded version. At the time in Banggood, the unbranded version was $10 cheaper than the Ishin version. And then this one has, DVR with 2 antennas. Antennas are really cheap, so you see I already broke the dipole. Not the dipole, the cloverleaf, so I had to replace the cloverleaf with a Crazy Pony one. So the review for that one also later on. So that was the goggles I ran, and so it was really cool to have something like this. It would have been nicer to have a more portable version of that, so I could fly it at school. But I was running this controller with this battery on the Furry F36 with the camera on it. It was fine, but starting out, you needed at least 3/4 throttle just on the controller to get off the ground. And also the controller has a lot of, like, it doesn't have very fine turning, right, on the sorry, here on the yaw. It doesn't really have, you know, it's very jerky. So I mean, but other than that, I flew it at Tech Shop, and you guys will probably see some footage of what I think was the oldest footage that I have, which probably back in the time when I had that setup. Then the next thing I did was I bought a better battery, I believe. I just soldered it on there. So I bought these batteries, which are the Craze Pony 260s. And I put those guys on here, but at that point it was really heavy. So you needed 3/4 throttle or higher. Actually, I think I flew it on here for only a week or so. And then I got the 260s because the battery life was dismal. It was like 2 minutes. And then with this battery, now I was flying 3 minutes. Well, almost 4 minutes actually, on this guy. So now I had the camera and the batteries with the high amperage connector on it, the PH connector. So the Craze Ponies 260s come with 4 batteries and the connector. Attached to connector, and just flying with that guy. Then that came with a pack of 4. Like I said, was flying with that, but the problem with that is it didn't come with a charger. So I ended up buying this also from Craze Pony, which is a 6-in-1 charger, not a parallel charger. It charges each one independently. It's capable of regular voltage 4.2 or 4.3 high voltage, with either a 0.2 amp charge or a 0.6 amp charge. Also, it comes with a micro lossy connector for 1 cell, as well as an XT connector for 1 cell. So really, really good deal. And as you can see here, you can charge the regular one or the high amperage connector on the same one. And then it's got a little switch up here at the top, or you could pick 0.2 amp charge or 0.6 amp charge. And then this I charge off of 3200 E-flite, because I really don't like E-flite batteries, so they puff quite a bit, so I use my puffed ones generally to charge it. So after I flew with that guy, and now I was getting about 4 minutes, I decided I wanted to step away from the smaller controller, which has had mixed results. I think I actually liked it better when it was back on this controller. I ended up binding it to what I fly most of my RC planes with, which is a DX7. So DSM2, DSMX. This particular board is DSM2. So when I wanted to use that controller, because I wanted to fly at the field, I put the board, bought the Eachine board. I actually bought another board, and what I did, I wasn't paying attention, I was in a big hurry, and I soldered the connector on backwards. I soldered the power where the ground was, and the ground where the power was. And I had a lot of problems of right when I would plug it in, the motors would go full throttle. And you would smell a lot of heat. And eventually I burnt that, I'm pretty sure I burnt that board out, and I just bought a new board, the Eachine board. I can't even remember what the old board was. But also now I'm feeling that the motors are going out, and that's probably one of the big reasons why, is because I wasn't able to break them in properly. So I think I actually got the motors and the board at the same time, because the motors had the connector on them, and the Furry BF36 is just soldered on the bottom, so it does not need the connector. So I knew that with the connector I didn't want to cut the connector off, so I decided to get a new board right when I got the motors. So I got the Craze Pony 19 kilovolt motors at the same time I got the board. So going back, I would probably just run with this guy at the time. This guy and this guy with a camera and a board on it, really, really small. And then now they have the small little screens where you don't have to put it on your face. Very easy to travel, and maybe just have something that attaches on here and then have the screen. It'll probably be a very tight combo and something that you can, 3D print a little box and be able to transport it. And then either run it with this, maybe just do an individual charger off of a USB, just because this one would work. Actually, well, it doesn't do it doesn't do high voltage. Maybe find USB chargers that just high voltage. So that was what I did, and then after that I had a lot of problems where you have the learning curve of dealing with Beta Flight or Clean Flight. This one runs Clean Flight. So a lot of problems, dealing with Clean Flight, getting getting the right channel assignments, messing with PIDs and stuff like that to get good performance, and figuring connecting the USB here to get it to fly, and figuring out which UART port you need to have on in order to connect to it, etc., etc. Dealing with ESCs, and well, not really on this one, dealing with ESCs, but later on. But it's a good step into bigger quads. So after that point of loading this guy, and you see it's got hot glue in there to hold the canopy on. I should probably put screws on there. So after that point, I decided to step up to building a gremlin style, which this guy is a kind of like a flight test gremlin. It's got I custom designed the a bamboo frame and laser cut it at Tech Shop, which no longer exists. And then this has Crazed Ponies / Maker Fire 1104s, and these are 7,500 kV. Yeah, 7,500 kV motors with 2" by 30 props or something like that. And then this is a same board out of a Lizard 95. This is the Eachine Mini Cube with the DSMX connector with the buzzer and 412, 10 amp ESCs, something like that. And then the same all-in-one Crazed Pony camera and VTX combo with OSD. And so this is what I'm working on now. This guy flies on 452 cell, 432 cell, 430 Venom 2 cells, or even 3 cell, but the motors suggest 2 cell only. So then dealing with this one's beta flight, so still new to this. I probably should have stuck with this and got good at this before I did this one, but this is fine sitting around until I figure it out. So another avenue that I'm going to explore, for me being into it, I got my roommate into it as well. And for Christmas, I got him the Eachine E013, which is the FPV kit, which has a Eachine 010-like quad, kind of like the Furry BF36. And it comes with the Eachine V006 goggles, as well as a controller with extended sticks. So when that comes in from China, I'll also ask him to be able to review that for you guys to see if that is a better avenue of what I did, of getting into it slowly. First flying line of sight with the Furry B, then adding a camera, and then maybe a cheaper goggles, maybe the Eachine V006. Then if you want to get a controller, then you could add the Eachine, whether it's Spectrum or Taranis or whatever. Then you could add the Eachine or whatever flight controller board. Now they have the version 2 with OSD, as well as 10 amp or 5 amp. I think they're 5 amp FETs, 5 amp FETs for bigger motors, whether you want to do 615s, 715s, or 8520s. Speaking of which, now I would also like to get into trying the 715s and 8520 motors, as well as open framed brushed, because those look really cool, and then when you crash them, they don't do so much damage. It's because I've seen a whole bunch of videos with things like that, and I've yet to really delve into acro mode. Most of this has just been flying around the house trying to get very accurate control of quadcopters, but now this guy is starting to be burned out, because I think it was when it went full throttle with the other board that now it's dying after 25-30 batteries. So I think that was a bad break-in, because generally on break-in they suggest you just put a battery and just let it idle at for a full battery to let it break in. So this is kind of my progression, so you guys could see where I came from and where I started from. And after the Eachine E013, after I check that out with my roommate, I'll see if that is a better way of getting into it. So this is the first episode, and I'll do a review of each of this stuff later on, so we could get more into detail, but this is just kind of my journey